I recently revisited Richard Linklater's earlier film Slacker, and I wanted to do a review on it because I think there are a couple of interesting things he touches on. The first is, it's clearly a pre-internet movie, but there's something beautiful about the way that the characters flow and the stories flow with them. If you haven't seen it, what happens is we see actually Richard Linklater as the first character who gets picked up at a train station and is talking to the cab driver. And when he gets dropped off, there's another person that comes in contact with the scene of where he sort of gets dropped off. And then we follow that person, and then that person gets arrested, and then somebody else is asking what's going on, and then we follow that person. And that continuation of threading sort of happens throughout the film, and we sort of experience almost what it's like to be at a dinner party where people are walking around, and you mingle with one person, and then that person leads you to another person, they introduce you to this person, and then before you know it, you've got like this thread of conversations and stories that are all handed off to each other. It's a beautiful film. It's set in Austin, Texas, and one of the things that I love about it is that a lot of the characters have these really deep philosophical conversations about what it is to be alive and what it is to be happy and the things that are happening in their lives, and sort of voicing those things to other people. And you start to wonder if they're doing that almost as if they want to know that somebody else is experiencing these things. And sometimes the conversations are very down to earth and sort of surface and talking about what they're doing and art or whatever, but a lot of the times the conversations go very meta, and that's one of the beautiful things about it. It's a really original film in terms of bouncing around through the characters and how they interact. But I think the first scene, and I'm going to play a clip in a second, is really sets the tone for the whole film, and it's Richard Linklater when he gets into the cab.
I just had the weirdest dream back on the bus there. Do you ever have those dreams that are just completely real? I mean, they're so vivid, it's just like completely real. It's like there's always something bizarre going on in those. I have one about every 2 years or something. I always remember them really good. It's like there's always someone getting run over or something really weird. One time I had lunch with Tolstoy. Another time I was a roadie for Frank Zappa. Anyway, so this dream I just had, it was just like that, except instead of anything bizarre going on, I mean, there was nothing going on at all. Man, it was like the Omega Man. There was just nobody around. I was just traveling around, staring out the windows of buses and trains and cars, When I was at home, I was like flipping through the TV stations endlessly, reading. I mean, how many dreams do you have where you read in a dream, Wait. Man, there was this book I just read on the book. Well, it was my dream, so I guess I wrote it or something. But, man, it was bizarre. It was like the premise for this whole book was that every thought you have creates its own reality. It's like every choice or decision you make, the thing you choose not to do fractions off and becomes its own reality, and just goes on from there forever. I mean, it's like, in The Wizard of Oz, when Dorothy meets the Scarecrow and they do that little dance at that crossroads and they think about going all those directions and they end up going in that one direction. I mean, all those other directions, just because they thought about it, became separate realities. I mean, they just went on from there and lived the rest of their life, entirely different movies, but we'll never see it because, we're kind of trapped in this one reality restriction type of thing, And another example would be like back there at the bus station, as I got off the bus, the thought crossed my mind, just for a second about not taking the cab at all, but, maybe walking or bumming a ride or something like that. I'm kind of broke right now. I should have done that probably. But just because that thought crossed my mind, there now exists at this very second a whole nother reality where I'm at the bus station, and you're probably giving someone else a ride. I mean, and that reality thinks of itself as it thinks of itself as the only reality, I mean, at this very second, I'm back at the bus station, just hanging out, probably thumbing through a paper, probably going up to a payphone. you know, say this beautiful woman just comes up to me, just starts talking to me, you know. She ends up offering me a ride, you know, we're hitting it off, go play a little pinball, and we go back to her apartment, and she has this great apartment, you know, I move in with her, you know. And see, if I say I have a dream some night that I'm with some strange woman I've never met, or I'm, you know, living at some place I've never seen before, see, that's just a momentary glimpse into this other reality that was all created back there at the bus station, you know. Shoot. And then, you know, I could have a dream from that reality into this one, that like this is my dream from that reality, you know. Of course, that's kind of like that dream I just, you know, had on the bus, you know, the whole cycle type of thing. Man, shit, I should have stayed at the bus station.
Sometimes I wonder if this film isn't, you know, more known because there aren't really any stars in it. And I think that's one of the beautiful things about it. It's one of the reasons that I love, if you're familiar with the Canadian show Degrassi, like not the new one, but the old one, like the Degrassi Junior High, Degrassi High, I think late 80s, early 90s, is that they were real people. You know, I mean, obviously, in any movie, a person is a real person, unless it's animation or CGI. I just mean that the people you see are people you would see in everyday life. They aren't these sort of elvish, beautiful, symmetrical model freaks that only Hollywood now conjures up. They're like actual people that you would run into in real life. And that's one of the beautiful things about Slacker, is that you feel like you're watching conversation among actual people you'd run into in real life. Another interesting thing that I thought of was potentially interesting is that the way that the characters talk to each other is a very easygoing and like respectful and kind and fair and just way. And that is, if you listen to the accent and the way that they talk, I've never been to Austin, Texas, so maybe somebody who has can confirm this or deny this, but you see that a lot of his films are set in Austin, Texas, and you hear the way they talk carries through, the style carries through all of his films. Dazed and Confused, Boyhood, I mean, not School of Rock, I don't think, but they have this way of talking, like calling things Sixers and like, hey, what are you guys up to, man? Well, we're just hanging out, man. It happens through all of his films. It's really interesting. If you want to watch Slacker, Dazed and Confused, Boyhood, go back and listen to it, and you'll hear the way that they talk is very similar, and they're completely different actors, and they're not, you know, I don't know how much research the actors did or who's from Austin, Texas, and who isn't, but there is a common intonation and pattern and speech usage that happens throughout a lot of his films. It's really interesting. I think he's one of the more interesting filmmakers that's around. I don't know that he gets credit for it, but Slacker, great movie. It's on HBO Max right now. You never know when things are going to go off, so I highly recommend it if you're in the mood for a film that really talks about things in a meta way, relevant things to the human condition, pre-internet, just people. Really makes you want to move to Austin, Texas, or go there for a month and just hang out with the people and get to know people and talk, and everyone's so friendly and helpful, and it's really an endearing film, and it's thought-provoking, and it's one of my favorite films of his by far. So Slacker, 2 thumbs up.